The message arrived just after midnight, 2 days before the wedding. Ethan stared at his phone as Lily calmly explained she would be spending the night at her ex Aaron's place to get closure. She promised nothing would happen. She insisted the wedding would continue as planned. But every line in her message felt like a warning siren Ethan wasn't supposed to hear. He reread it twice, the room suddenly too quiet, too still, like the moment right before a storm tears a roof off. Instead of confronting her, he typed 4 simple words: "Do what you need." Then he set the phone down, not in anger, but in a clarity so sharp it almost frightened him. Because Ethan knew one thing with absolute certainty. The wedding was already over. Ethan woke up the next morning with a strange sense of calm, as if the decision had already been living inside him long before Lily's message arrived. He didn't rush. He didn't panic. He simply got out of bed, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table looking around the apartment they had shared for 3 years. It no longer felt like his home. It felt like a place he had been borrowing, waiting for the moment he finally realized he didn't belong in it. He opened his laptop and began canceling everything, one service at a time. First was the wedding venue, a vineyard 2 hours away that Lily had always dreamed of. He told them the event was off and paid the cancellation fee without hesitation. Next came the catering, the floral arrangements, the photography team, the live band, and the limo service. Everyone on the other end of the phone sounded confused, concerned, or shocked, but Ethan spoke with the same steady tone, answering every question with a quiet finality. He didn't blame Lily. He didn't explain the story. He just said the wedding would not happen. By noon, every contract had been terminated. The honeymoon tickets were refunded. The guest list was wiped. The wedding website was deactivated. It was as if the entire event vanished in a single morning. When he finished, he walked into the bedroom and pulled out 2 suitcases. One for clothes. One for everything else that mattered. He didn't pack angrily or tearfully. He folded each item carefully, without rushing, as if he were closing the final chapter of a book he already knew the ending to. In the bathroom, he removed his toothbrush and razor, leaving Lily's side untouched. In the closet, he cleared his half but kept her belongings exactly where they were. He wanted no drama, no confrontation, no last-minute conversation that would trap him back into a story he no longer wanted to be part of. Before leaving, he placed the engagement ring on the dining table. He wrote a short note beside it. For closure. Nothing more. Nothing less. He put the keys on top of the note and took one last glance around the apartment. There were memories everywhere, both good and bad, but none of them held him anymore. He closed the door behind him without looking back. Outside, the world looked strangely bright, like it had been waiting for him to step out of the shadows. He got into his car, started the engine, and drove away with no destination in mind, only the certainty that leaving was the right choice. By the time Lily would read his note, everything would already be done. The wedding would be gone. The plans would be gone. And Ethan would be gone too, not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. For the first time in years, he finally chose himself. Lily's bachelorette party started like any other celebration: loud music, bright lights, and a rented rooftop suite filled with champagne and glitter. Her friends were dancing, taking pictures, and tagging her in posts with captions like "Future Misses" and "2 days left." Lily pretended to laugh along, but there was a flicker of unease every time she checked her phone. She kept waiting for a message from Ethan, expecting anger, confusion, or at least a demand for an explanation. But nothing came. Not a word. She tried to shake it off, lifting her glass to toast with her bridesmaids, when a notification suddenly appeared on her screen. It was an email from the wedding venue. The subject line was simple: confirmation of cancellation. Lily froze mid-toast. The room kept moving, but she went completely still. She clicked the message, and her face drained as she read each cold, factual sentence confirming the event had been fully terminated. Her friends crowded around, confused at first, then shocked as the reality sank in. Someone asked if it was a mistake. Someone else asked if Ethan's account had been hacked. But then another notification came. And another. The florist wrote to confirm the cancellation. The photographer. The caterer. The honeymoon resort. Within a minute, everything began collapsing like falling dominoes. Lily's hands started to tremble. Her bridesmaids snatched her phone, scrolling frantically, trying to piece together what was happening. Then the panic spread to their own phones as screenshots, messages, and rumors exploded across social media. People were posting about the canceled wedding before Lily even had time to process it herself. One friend posted a vague story about betrayal. Another posted a crying selfie asking followers to pray for Lily. Within an hour, the situation spiraled into a chaotic storm of speculation. Some blamed Ethan. Some blamed Lily. Others wrote dramatic theories with zero context, tagging both of them. Meanwhile, across town, Ethan sat on the couch in Mark's apartment, calmly watching the entire meltdown unfold online. Mark kept refreshing his feed, shaking his head at every new post. He showed Ethan a video of Lily's friends frantically searching for him, asking anyone who knew his location to contact them. Ethan simply took a sip of water and said nothing. It wasn't satisfaction on his face, nor anger. Just quiet resignation. He had expected chaos, but he hadn't expected it to break out this fast. Back at the party, Lily had broken down completely. Her makeup smeared, her hair falling out of place, her voice cracking as she asked again and again why Ethan would do this. Her friends tried to comfort her, but the confusion only made everything worse. Someone suggested calling him. Someone else suggested going to his apartment. But Ethan was already gone, leaving behind nothing for them to find. As the night dragged on, the rooftop celebration turned into a crisis meeting full of tears, accusations, and frantic phone calls. And all across social media, the drama had only just begun. By dawn, the internet was already drowning in theories about the canceled wedding, but Lily decided she needed to take control of the narrative. Her eyes were swollen from crying, and she hadn't slept, but she opened Facebook anyway and began typing a long post. In it, she claimed Ethan had been unstable for weeks. She wrote that he'd been having episodes, imagining things that weren't real, and accusing her unfairly. She said the wedding was postponed because he was suffering a mental and emotional crisis, and she begged people to give them space. The post spread instantly. Friends shared it with captions about supporting mental health. Strangers commented paragraphs of sympathy. Some even attacked Ethan, calling him cruel names and blaming him for abandoning Lily. Lily sat back, breathing shakily, believing she had regained control. But her relief barely lasted an hour. At Mark's apartment, Ethan was scrolling quietly, reading the accusations without blinking. Mark cursed under his breath and asked if Ethan wanted him to defend him online. Ethan shook his head. Then he opened his photo gallery, pulled up the screenshots of Lily's late-night message about staying with Aaron, and posted them publicly with a simple caption. "This is the reason." Within minutes, the tone online shifted violently. People who had defended Lily started asking questions. Others demanded she explain why she needed closure with her ex days before marrying someone else. The comment section turned into a battlefield. But Ethan wasn't done. He added a second post, calmly stating that Aaron's father was not battling cancer, despite what Lily had told several people. He included a screenshot of a text from a mutual friend, confirming the truth. That revelation shocked people even more than the first. Why would Lily lie about something like that? Why would she use a false tragedy to justify visiting her ex? The storm online doubled in size. Across town, Lily watched her phone in horror as everything unraveled. Her original post was now flooded with angry comments calling her manipulative and dishonest. People she had known for years unfriended her in real time. Her mother tried to defend her in the comments, but every reply only made things worse. Then things escalated further when both families discovered what was happening. Lily's parents stormed out of their house and drove straight to Mark's place, demanding to speak with Ethan. Her father was furious, insisting Ethan had humiliated their family. Her mother accused him of sabotaging the wedding out of spite. Even Aaron showed up, pretending to be calm and mature, acting like he was only there to help resolve misunderstandings. Mark tried to keep them outside, but they pushed their way in. Ethan remained seated on the couch, silent, looking at them with the same steady calm he'd had since the night before. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue. He didn't apologize. He simply replayed the facts whenever someone tried to twist them. Every denial from Lily's side only made things worse, because Ethan didn't need theatrics or emotion. He had the truth, and it spoke louder than all their shouting. As the argument spilled into the yard, neighbors began watching from their windows, and someone inevitably filmed it, adding yet another layer to the public disaster. By the time the sun fully rose, the story had reached a new peak online, and the real fallout had only just begun. Lily stood on Mark's front lawn surrounded by her parents, her best friend, and Aaron hovering behind her like a misplaced shadow. Her mother pointed at Ethan as if he were a child who needed scolding, demanding that he fix the mess he caused. Her father looked torn between anger and embarrassment, shifting uncomfortably each time neighbors peeked through curtains. Ethan stayed inside the doorway, arms crossed loosely, watching them without a hint of panic. Lily stepped forward first, her voice shaky but defiant, insisting that the screenshots didn't show the whole truth. She claimed she went to Aaron's place only to talk, only to close a chapter, only to understand her past so she could move forward. But while she spoke, her eyes kept flickering toward Aaron for reassurance. Aaron cleared his throat and tried to look noble, saying he only wanted to help Lily find clarity. He insisted nothing inappropriate happened, that he was simply a safe space for her emotions. Ethan didn't say a word. He didn't need to. Everyone could feel that something in Lily's story didn't line up. Her best friend, Claire, asked why Lily hadn't told anyone about this plan sooner. Lily snapped that she didn't owe explanations to anyone. That was when her mother jumped in, declaring loudly that Ethan had always been too quiet, too passive, too unambitious for their daughter. She said Lily deserved someone driven, someone who understood her passion for life. The words hung in the air like a slap. Even Lily looked startled, realizing her mother had said the quiet part out loud. Ethan raised an eyebrow but remained calm, which unnerved them even more. Then Aaron made the mistake of stepping closer and trying to lecture Ethan about relationships. He said Ethan should have fought harder for Lily instead of giving up. Mark burst out laughing at that, unable to keep a straight face. Everyone knew Aaron had spent the past year liking Lily's photos, sending late-night messages, and offering sympathy whenever she had a fight with Ethan. Ethan finally spoke, his voice low and steady. He asked Lily one question. Did you still have feelings for him? The silence that followed was heavier than all the shouting that came before. Lily's lips parted, but no words came out. Her shoulders slumped. Her eyes welled up. And in that tiny hesitation, the truth spilled itself. Her father closed his eyes, realizing everything. Her mother stuttered something about misunderstandings, but the damage was irreparable. Aaron stepped back, suddenly uncomfortable with the spotlight, pretending to check his phone. Claire whispered that Lily should just admit it, because everyone could already see what was happening. Lily didn't answer. She didn't have to. Her silence was the answer. Ethan nodded once, as if he'd been expecting it all along, then stepped back into the house. He told them all to leave, saying there was nothing left to discuss. As they walked away, Lily pulled out her phone and later that night posted a story from Aaron's apartment, a dimly lit selfie with the caption, "The universe shows you where you're meant to be." Instead of sympathy, the post ignited an even bigger explosion online. People finally saw the full truth, and the backlash was immediate. And for Lily, the consequences were only beginning. Lily woke up the next morning determined to prove that the wedding could still happen, even if Ethan refused to return. Her pride wouldn't let her accept defeat. She convinced herself that if she pushed forward hard enough, people would believe Ethan was the unreasonable one. So she and her mother arrived at the rehearsal venue dressed as if nothing had happened, carrying binders, decorations, and a forced sense of optimism. But the staff at the restaurant had already been notified of the cancellation. When Lily demanded they continue as planned, the manager apologized and explained the reservation was gone and the space had been rebooked. Lily's mother started yelling, insisting they had a right to be there, and threatened to take this higher. The manager remained firm, and when her mother refused to leave, security was called. Moments later, 2 police officers showed up, asking them both to exit the property. The humiliation hit harder than the rejection. Only 12 out of 60 invited guests even bothered to show up for the rehearsal, standing awkwardly in the parking lot, unsure whether to stay or go. Some of them whispered among themselves. Others checked their phones constantly as new updates about the scandal flooded social media. Aaron stood beside Lily as if he belonged there, which only made the guests even more uncomfortable. Her father said nothing, too embarrassed to defend any of it. By evening, Lily was spiraling again. The rehearsal was a failure, and she needed a new way to gain sympathy. So she opened her phone, hit the Go Live button, and began crying to hundreds of viewers from Aaron's dimly lit apartment. She talked about betrayal. She talked about confusion. She talked about feeling abandoned. But the comments weren't as sympathetic as she expected. Some people asked why she was still at Aaron's place. Others pointed out inconsistencies in her story. A few brutally stated that Ethan had done the right thing. At one point, she accidentally shifted her camera, revealing Aaron sitting in the background without a shirt, which immediately sent the viewers into a frenzy. Clips of the live stream spread across social media within minutes, each one worse than the last. By the next morning, the original wedding day, Lily still insisted on going to the venue. She put on a white dress, rallied about 30 members of her family, and drove to the location as if the ceremony would magically materialize. But when they arrived, the place was buzzing with people in business attire. A corporate seminar was underway. The wedding decor was gone. The chairs were arranged in rows for a workshop. Seeing it broke something inside Lily's mother, who stormed toward the front desk, shouting about incompetence and disrespect. Again, the police were called. Guests slowly backed away, some recording, others pretending they hadn't seen anything. Lily stood frozen in her dress, mascara streaking down her face, realizing that no one was coming to save her. No amount of pretending could bring the wedding back. No amount of blaming Ethan could erase what she had done. And the world, watching through their screens, had already chosen its verdict. In the days that followed the ruined wedding, Lily's life began collapsing faster than she could catch it. The apartment she once shared with Ethan was no longer hers to stay in, because Ethan's name had been on most of the financial documents. Without his support, she couldn't cover the rent. The landlord gave her a brief grace period, but when the deadline passed, she was forced to leave. Her belongings ended up stuffed into boxes, piled into her car, and driven to the only place she could think of: Aaron's parents' house. Specifically, the cramped basement studio that Aaron called his creative space. It smelled faintly of mildew and old carpet, but Lily told herself it was temporary. She tried to ignore how far she had fallen. Meanwhile, her family was unraveling just as quickly. Her mother had spent years controlling the narrative of Lily's life, and now her lies were pouring into the open. Friends, relatives, even coworkers confronted her about the manipulative things she'd said during the drama. Her father, exhausted and ashamed, confronted her mother about the truth she had hidden, about pushing Lily toward Ethan for stability, about secretly despising him, and about the fabricated stories she had repeated to protect her pride. Their arguments grew louder and more frequent until her father finally packed a bag and left for a relative's house. He later reached out to Ethan, apologizing for everything and begging him not to blame the entire family for what happened. That single apology broke Lily more than any online comment. But the worst cracks began to form between Lily and Aaron. At first, he enjoyed the attention, the praise from people who framed him as the comforting ex who helped Lily in her darkest hour. But once the dust settled, he grew tired of the responsibility. He stopped answering her questions right away. He avoided deep conversations. He rolled his eyes when she cried. One afternoon, Lily overheard Aaron's father yelling upstairs, furious that his son had lied about him having cancer. He shouted that Aaron had always been reckless and selfish, that using a fake illness to attract Lily back into his life was cruel and unforgivable. Lily stood frozen on the stairs, listening to the truth unravel. That night, she asked Aaron if he had ever planned to propose to her. He brushed off the question, saying they should focus on healing instead of rushing into commitments. When she pushed further, he admitted he wasn't sure they were compatible long-term. 2 days later, she discovered dating app notifications popping up on his tablet when he left it unlocked. Her stomach twisted as she scrolled through flirtatious messages he'd been sending other women. He didn't even bother denying it. He said he wasn't ready for anything serious and suggested they take a break. That was the breaking point. Lily packed what little she had and sat in her car alone, realizing she had burned every bridge trying to chase something that was never real. The wedding was gone. Her relationship with her parents was fractured. Her reputation had been destroyed online. And Aaron, the person she sacrificed everything for, didn't want her. For the first time since the chaos began, she whispered the words she had avoided facing. I ruined everything for nothing. The silence that followed was louder than any of the shouting that had come before. Months later, Lily finally found a small apartment of her own, nothing fancy, but a place where every decision belonged to her. She worked long hours, taking extra shifts and slowly rebuilding the confidence she had lost. The noise of the scandal faded, replaced by quieter days where she learned to enjoy her own company again. One evening, she received an unexpected message from Ethan. He didn't ask for explanations or apologies. He simply wished her well and said he hoped she was healing. For the first time, Lily read his words without guilt crushing her chest. She replied with a simple thank you and felt something settle inside her. Not closure handed to her, but closure she created herself. Her parents remained distant, but Lily stopped trying to fix what she didn't break. She let their choices be theirs, and her future be hers. Aaron attempted to reconnect once, spinning excuses and promises. But she blocked his number before he could finish his second sentence. Walking away felt lighter than she expected. Standing by the window of her new place, watching the city lights blink in the distance, she realized she wasn't starting over from nothing. She was starting over from honesty. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough.